Hello. Welcome to Windward Community College and to Out Loud in the Library. So I'm Susan St. John. I'm the coordinator of Out Loud. And Out Loud is a collaboration between Windward's Library and the Language Arts Department. And we are celebrating 10 years, our 10-year anniversary. So 10 years of music, literature, and art in the library. So today we're really pleased to have Melanie Dorado Wilson reading and presenting her art of the ʻAlalā. ʻAlalā, am I saying it correctly? So Melanie is Windward's interim vice chancellor for academic affairs. She's also a lifelong learner, and she recently completed her associate's degree in Hawaiian Studies. During her studies, Melanie fell in love with the ʻAlalā, which became the subject of her artistic and academic focus. Melanie will read from her Hawaiian Studies capstone paper entitled ʻAlalā, ʻAumakua in Transition, a multimedia exploration of the science, politics, law, culture, and spirituality surrounding the Hawaiian Crow, which is about Corvus Hawaiiensis, the Hawaiian Crow, a bird that is extinct in the wild. She'll also show her final art she's completed for the class. Melanie began painting during the COVID pandemic. She had no prior training, just a strong desire to do art. So please welcome Melanie Dorado Wilson.
Mahalo nui, everyone, for coming. It means a lot to me that we have such a good turnout. Oops. There we go. At the CNHA convention last week on Hawaii Island, a very strong presenter, Kumuhina, many of you may know this person, advised us to start with our best story. And with that idea in mind, I'm going to start with how I got here to this place. How does one become a bird lover? I remember the very first bluebird that I saw before dawn. I can identify the silhouette of a pileated woodpecker. I had the extraordinary experience of seeing a bald eagle on the side of the road fly in front of my passing car and spread its wings that were wider than my vehicle. I have joyfully waited while a male swan blocked the highway for his partner and 4 cygnets to pass. So when I was called back to Hawaii in 2015 after the death of my beloved grandmother, I was primed to fall in love with the ʻAlalā. It was about to be experimentally released back into the wild after near extinction. Since then, I have followed its rise and fall, the hope and promise of its reintroduction to the wild. I wrote this paper and I created this multimedia artwork as my final project for Hawaiian Studies 260 as the culminating project for my AA degree in Hawaiian Studies last spring. And before I begin, I'd like to thank the following people who helped me on this journey. My kumuhula, Dr. Taupuri Tangaro from Hawaii Island, my instructor for Hawaiian Studies 260, Pele Kaio. Others whom I interviewed, Cody Pacheco, Noah Gomes, and Dr. Mark Walters, who is the author of Seeking the Sacred Raven, and Dr. Fern Duval, who, among many others, who did some pioneering work on raising baby chicks in captivity. And with that, I will begin my paper, ʻAlalā, ʻAumakua in Transition. The ʻAlalā is a bird endemic to Hawaii Island and Maui that is sacred in Hawaiian culture. It is now extinct in the wild. Researchers are studying the ʻAlalā's ecological role, conservation status, and cultural significance with the birds in captivity, working to restore the ʻAlalā to the wild where it is threatened by disease, predators, and loss of habitat. Its survival is a scientific endeavor tied to political and legal issues, and at the same time inextricably tied to Native Hawaiian cultural and spiritual concerns. The Endangered Species Act of 1973 was designed to protect endangered and threatened species of animals and plants which have aesthetic, ecological, educational, historical, recreational, and scientific value. This covers large territory, but it does not include areas of cultural or spiritual value as intrinsic reasons to take on the important task of species conservation. This oversight, or perhaps omission, is where the answer to the ʻAlalā's survival may reside. Over the last 7 years, I have watched as excitement over the bird's hopeful release in the world after monumental efforts to raise chicks in captivity crashed and burned, and eventually seemed to die away. COVID played a role in this slowing of information sharing and progress, I believe, but it was undeniable to me that the ʻAlalā had faded from the public eye. I found that not only does the ʻAlalā need native plants to survive, the ʻAina needs the ʻAlalā. This amazing bird was a critical seed disperser because a wide variety of native fruit primarily made up its diet, particularly in Hawaii's dry forests where numerous indigenous plant species are becoming scarce. The Hawaiian crow, this is a quote, has become known as an indicator species. The disappearance of the ʻAlalā indicates serious environmental problems. It is believed that reintroducing the bird to the wild successfully could be an important step to recovering the health of the native forest ecosystem in Hawaii. This, however, is only half the story. The ʻAlalā also plays a significant spiritual role in Hawaiian culture as an ʻAumakua. ʻAumakua are ancestral spirits or deities that Hawaiians believe can manifest in various forms, including animals to guide, protect, and communicate with their descendants. The inclusion of ʻAlalā in the kumulipo, the native Hawaiian creation chant, provides background for the ongoing familial relationships and connections that Native Hawaiians maintain with the ʻAlalā even today, demonstrating the enduring cultural and spiritual importance of the ʻAlalā in Hawaiian heritage. This information informed my artistic efforts in creating a multimedia portrait of the ʻAlalā. To me, the bird represents the greater efforts toward preservation, restoration, and reconnection with Hawaiian traditional knowledge and practices. Its rusty voice caws through the bars of its cages, yearning to be free, wild once again. My work is a pictorial representation infused with deeper meaning that boosts the voice in my own small way, while at the same time bringing awareness to the ʻAlalā's cause. As a culminating project for my Hawaiian Studies degree from Hawaii CC, this research project and artwork represents the insights I have gained into Hawaiian history and culture. It has shown me that there is a deeper meaning to be understood no matter where I turn, that the fate of this special place, though it may touch many, including myself, belongs truly to Hawaiians, whose connection to nature and the ʻAlalā goes back to the very beginning of time. Hanau ka ʻalalā ka makua, puka kana keiki, he alawi, lele. The crow is born, the parent. Out comes its child, a shriek, and it flies. That's from the Kumulipo, a Hawaiian chant of creation. The scientific literature tells us that the ʻAlalā falls somewhere between a crow and a raven, smaller than the latter, but genetically more closely related. Still, it is informally referred to as the Hawaiian Crow. While it is widely known to have been endemic to Hawaii Island, subfossil evidence shows that the ʻAlalā may also have been found on Maui, and several other crow species existed as well. The ʻAlalā is the last remaining Hawaiian crow species. It is needed to maintain biodiversity of the ecosystem, and while the bird itself also needs native plants to survive, specifically the ohia tree, which is under attack from a disease known as rod or rapid ohia death. It's a circular problem. The impact of the bird's 20-plus year absence on Hawaii's ecosystem diversity is undeniable. Many indigenous plant species have been and will continue to be affected. Scientists began a captive breeding program in the late 1970s. The turn of the 21st century saw the ʻAlalā go extinct in the wild, last seen on Hawaii Island in South Kona in 2002. While efforts to reintroduce the ʻAlalā to the wild have thus far not been successful, much has been learned and research continues. Most recent research journal articles documenting ʻAlalā research show an interest in genetic sequencing and diversity, or lack thereof, breeding techniques, movement monitoring, tool use, they use tools, predator awareness, and vocal repertoire. In 1987, researchers warned that the few remaining habitat areas for the ʻAlalā had little or no legal protection due to zoning and private land ownership. Many governmental agencies, organizations, and institutions have been involved in the conservation efforts of the ʻAlalā. The Hawaii Endangered Bird Conservation Program, University of Hawaii, Pacific Bird Conservation, and American Bird Conservancy, among others, contribute expertise, resources, and support to ʻAlalā conservation initiatives. The Hawaii Department of Land and Natural Resources has been a major player in ʻAlalā conservation efforts, leading projects such as the ʻAlalā Project, which focuses on habitation restoration, captive breeding, and reintroduction programs. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has collaborated with the DLNR and other partners on various aspects of ʻAlalā conservation, including funding, support for breeding programs, research, and habitat protection. The San Diego Zoo Global has been involved in captive breeding programs for the ʻAlalā since the early 1980s, working to maintain genetic diversity and support efforts to reintroduce the species into the wild through management of the conservation breeding program facilities under the Hawaii Endangered Bird Conservation Program at the Maui Bird Conservation Center and the Keauhou Bird Conservation Center. That one's on Hawaii Island. Today's small population of ʻAlalā is limited in genetic diversity, descending from a mere 9 genetic founders. The word ʻAlalā has numerous meanings. It is a style of oli, chant, that helps to protect the mea oli, chanter's, voice. In battle, the ʻAlalā is the messenger who calls out the chief's commands to the warriors, and it is the cry of a baby. It is the bird's strong, some would say grating, voice that calls one's attention. Mary Kavena Pukui relayed Olelo no Eao number 527, He ʻAlalā, Kamanu Leo Nui. It is the crow, a loud-voiced bird, said of a person who talks too loud. Scientists have studied 24 different vocalizations. It is no wonder that the bird's voice inspired a whole style of oli. Since oli are interwoven with mo'olelo, stories, hula, place names, and indeed particular lands themselves, the ʻAlalā and its unique communications have woven their way into the Hawaiian psyche. Long ago, when the ʻAlalā was plentiful in the forest, bird collectors complained that their warning cries would signal other forest birds to hide. Thus, it seems their protector role extended to animals, as well as humans. The presence of the ʻAlalā could be seen or heard as a warning upon entering a place, a sign to stop and turn back. They hold a sacred role as an ʻAumakua, the embodiment of a family god. In life, the ʻAumakua acts as a protector or guide, but after death, its role magnifies. In Seeking the Sacred Raven, author Mark Jerome Walters shared what he learned from the families of Kona and Ka'u on Hawaii Island, for whom the ʻAlalā is their ʻAumakua. When a Hawaiian dies, the soul travels to a leaping place. Each island district has one, usually a high ocean promontory, and awaits its guide. One of those spirits is the ʻAlalā. Without a spirit guide, such as the ʻAlalā, a soul could lose its way and drift forever through a twilight of ghosts and night moths with only grasshoppers to eat. That was a quote. I wonder what happens to Hawaiians whose ʻAumakua no longer exists on the earth. Certainly they lose the opportunity for a meaningful lifelong spiritual connection with their ancestors through the manifestation of the ʻAumakua. But does a person also lose their way in the afterlife? Or is this a westernized thought that is too focused on the earthly animal itself and overlooks the ʻAumakua's true form as a spiritual being? Will the ʻAumakua continue to inhabit the family's spirit world, come to them in dreams or other ways unknown to me? I cannot help but feel that the ʻAlalā's dwindling presence in the earthly plane must diminish its role in Hawaiian life in a sad enactment of the old adage, out of sight, out of mind. Hina Nubo echoed these thoughts and expressed a sense of urgency. Quote, that we came so close to losing this bird with its many connections to us, from cosmology to personal family relationships, should shake our very foundation. Yet there are 78 other native Hawaiian bird species that have gone extinct. How many of those were ʻAumakua? The bird's voice continues to ring through Hawaiian culture and language, but what about the ʻAlalā's language? The birds continue to evolve whether in captivity or not, says Dr. Walters. The more time that passes means more lost cultural knowledge and genetic changes due to the experience in captivity. For this reason, researchers especially value the 5 birds still living who have experienced surviving in the wild, if only for a short period during their temporary release before being recaptured, because they could impart these skills to other captured birds. I join a legion of people, Hawaiians and non-Hawaiians alike, who both mourn and hold out hope for the ʻAlalā. I believe that bringing attention to the ʻAlalā's plight can ensure that if its loss is as significant as I think it is, someone is paying attention. By someone, I don't mean Native Hawaiians, for whom I cannot speak, but the world at large, who collectively have an impact on our environment, and more specifically, the people of modern Hawaii, who ought to share in the responsibility for the Aina. The result of my research led me to a deeper place than I first imagined. I expected to find profound connections, but what I realized, as Taupori Tangaro pointed out, is that the underlying unease I feel about the loss of this sacred animal is that its decline mirrors the many losses of the Hawaiian people over the many decades since Western contact, and reflects the future. My deep fear is that losing the ʻAlalā physically from the earth signifies the irreplaceable loss of an important aspect of Hawaiian culture. There are sadly so many losses of Hawaiian species, so why this particular loss touches me so deeply, I do not know. All I know is that the losses add up in the most painful way. At the same time, I have enduring hope that Hawaiians, and everything they believe and live for will remain. If there is a message for how the results of this research, any research about the ʻAlalā can be used, it is to provide a record of the fight so that we can apply the lessons learned for the next generation. I hope I have added in some small way to the fabric of hope. Mahalo. I really tried not to cry.
Will we have some time for questions? So if any of you have a question, that you want to ask?
The Hawaiian ʻio, which is, well, there are others as well that are non-native to Hawaii, but the native predator is the Hawaiian ʻio. That is the hawk on Hawaii Island. And it is a natural predator to the bird, and the bird in large numbers knows how to combat that threat, and its numbers can handle the predation by a few ʻio. But when you have only 5 animals or 10 out in the wild, and they did, when they saw evidence when they first put the birds out in between 2016 and 2018, that they did band together to fight against ʻios that were coming to catch them. But as soon as they paired off, which they naturally do, they pair for life, those two would go off and they would find themselves much more in danger, so unable to protect themselves. And their babies also hop around on the ground, and so the loss of the understory in the forest over years and years of cattle grazing. It didn't used to be controlled, it used to be sort of wherever cattle grazed, they grazed. And also goats and sheep, you know, they've eaten a lot of the native plants that would protect birds in the forest. Some of the non-native species that are predators are cats and mongoose.
Say, like, what about the Hawaiian owl? Would that predate on the?
I think an owl, in what I know of owls in general, is that they do tend to feast on small animals. So it's very likely that an owl would go after a chick, especially if it were on the ground unprotected. But I have not read anything about the pueo, the Hawaiian owl, being a natural predator for.
I have another question. Do they nest on the ground or do they nest in trees?
They nest in trees, but their babies hop around on the ground.
Oh, so they're vulnerable to like a mongoose or something like that?
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
that makes sense. Thank you.
I saw your hand go up? Okay. Yes.
Thank you so much. I was curious, to come and learn and understand is one thing, but when it comes to actually taking action to understand what people like us can do to help protect or further our education around protection of the ʻAlalā, what do you recommend or what would you suggest?
Well, there's probably 3 different things that come to mind. One is you can donate money. Any amount is appreciated to any of the organizations that I mentioned, and also there's links here to organizations that are doing fantastic work. So any donations that you feel you can give, those are helpful. Time, so volunteering at events that raise awareness. I don't know that it's possible to go and volunteer your time at all of these agencies, but some of them do allow you, if you live nearby, to spend time doing work for them. Because there's more than one species they're working on, but these are the ones particularly interested in ʻAlalā survival. And the other is to talk, to raise awareness about the birds, any bird that touches your heart. Some of the agencies are the Keauhou Bird Conservation Center, the Maui Bird Conservation Conservatory, I think it's called. There are different organizations like, hold on, my mind is going blank, so I'm going to read them to you. some of the ones that I mentioned, any national organization that does bird conservation. Oh, the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance has sort of headed up the conservation efforts, the release efforts, and the raising of baby chicks. So that's a good one. What else? Here we go. The Hawaii Department of Land and Natural Resources, I don't know that that's really an organization that you can donate your time to, but they do have a project called the ʻAlalā project, and I think it's worth reaching out to always find out what's going on with them and what events they're holding, because I think the more people who show up at those events shows them that we have interest in these topics. So, yeah. Yes?
So you mentioned the ʻAlalā being there on the Big Island and Maui.
Mm-hmm.
They're protected, or are there a few that's still flying around?
Mm-hmm.
And then what forestry in the Big Island? I'm thinking the rainforest area, and then Maui would be that maybe on that area. I don't know.
I'm not sure where they're located, just the organizations that are managing their, but there are none in the wild at this time. They are extinct in the wild. So the only ones that are living are actually in captivity. So the Keauhou Bird Conservation Center is in Volcano, I believe, on Hawaii Island, but they're moving the birds from Hawaii Island to Maui to release there because there's no EO. The Hawaiian EO is not present on Maui at this time. So
How many are in captivity right now? Yeah.
last I read it was less than 10, but you know, they're raising baby chicks all the time, and so that number changes all the time. So I was only able to find what's been published.
And
So.
I was also thinking, I mean, I know they have them in captivity, but if it's such on the decline, how did they even get the initial parents to breed? That seems like a miracle almost.
Yeah, it
It's
does.
so rare, you know, and it's like,
Yeah.
how do you
And that
nest
is
in trees? It's like the
that
day
is
we're
way
fell
above my
up.
pay grade.
I'm just curious. I think it's amazing that they're able to like salvage the population.
It is amazing.
I know you mentioned how you were unable to really explain how connected you felt to them, or why. But I wanna ask while you were doing your research, what factor, what made you feel even more connected?
I think it was when my kumuhula pointed out to me, because I expressed that to him. I said, I don't know why this bothers me so much. I said, there's a question there and there's an answer there, and I don't even know what the question is. And he said, I can tell you what it is just from the way that you talk. It's that you are connecting the loss of this bird with the loss of all Hawaiian things that we have lost. Hawaiian practices, Hawaiian species, Hawaiian lands, Hawaiian everything. It's just another reminder. And it's because I'm a bird lover, it's the one that I have connected with. And I think he's right. I think that's where it is for me. Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit more about your painting and the process
Oh.
that you went through?
Yeah, so I am a multimedia portrait artist. I allow myself to call myself that, even though I am not a formal artist. I'll put this up here, it looks like. That's set there for my painting, and that'll work. So what I did, what I like to do when I am collecting materials for a painting is I look at the subject, which is usually a person, and I ask what is important to that person, and I include materials that are important to that person. So for example, when I did a portrait of my husband, he is a bird lover, so his mustache is made out of bird nest, and and you can't tell because I put it into the painting, but his eyebrows are made out of bird feathers that I found on the ground. So what I did with the ʻAlalā, because obviously I don't know any ʻAlalā, and so what I did was I asked myself what is needed. The ohia tree, so this is my representation of the ohia. I know it doesn't look a lot like it, but yeah. But these leaves, every single one of them is taken in the background of of the leaf is, these are cut up pictures of Hawaiian plants. So although I couldn't use actual ohia leaves, what I did was I found a magazine that was entirely about Hawaiian things, and I went in and I pulled out all the pictures in Hawaii, and I cut out the leaves only from the plants in Hawaii. So there are probably some non-native species in here, but that's reality. There are native and non-native species in Hawaii now. So that's what my plants were made of. Down here, this is sort of the basis for the painting, the wood that the crow is sitting on. This is all Hawaiian language, because that's so integral to the story. So if you, these are pieces of paper that are from, it's all Hawaiian words. And so, what else? Yeah. So I tried to create sort of a mystery in the background, because we don't really know what habitat will help the birds survive now, because everything's changed. So even if we are successful in releasing it to the wild, we don't know what their habitat will be and what will help them to be successful. We think we know, but we don't necessarily. And I chose this photo because it is looking to the future. So, yeah. Yes?
Do you have a time, I know you said that they eat native food. Do you know if they have tried to introduce non-native foods to them? Because they're thinking about, releasing them into the wild and they choose their diet. They would survive. Have a better chance at
I would bet that the scientists have thought about that. I don't know what they're feeding them in captivity, although I saw them being fed meat, and I don't know what kind of meat, so perhaps. Yes, they actually, I don't have the picture with me today, but there's a picture, you can find it online. If you do a search for ʻAlalā stick, you will see that they actually pick up sticks and they use them to poke and get insects out of wood and other places. So they're tool users. They're very smart birds.
Just want to add a comment. I noticed your painting, it almost looks like you can see the intelligence in the apple.
Thank you.
I really
Thank
like
you.
that you're able to capture it. I was going to actually ask, are they intelligent? But you just answered my question.
Oh, they're so intelligent.
But I just want to comment, it's like, it looks intelligent just the way you drew the eyeball.
Oh, thank you.
That's what I noticed the most about the painting, actually, was the intensity of the eyeball. Sorry, I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Yes. Oh, I'm really glad that I was able to bring my feeling to reality. Yes.
Has there been any experimentation on environments where they're most consistently thriving in?
Well, they did, yes, that's what they tried on Hawaii Island. They tried to release it in its native environment, but it had changed so much from its original form. And there were so few birds that they just didn't have a chance. And so what they're trying now is a practice that has been successful with other birds in Hawaii and around the world, is taking them to new locations that are similar, so that they can try to release them there with fewer predators and things. And that's what they're doing in Maui. So I just learned at the CNHA convention last week that they're going to be released on Maui Island this fall, latest in the spring. So I'm really hoping that we will hear more in the news about that release and whether or not it's been successful. On the Big Island, it was in the volcano area, because they're naturally high-level birds. I mean, they used to come all the way down to the sea level, but they go up Malcolm pretty high. So originally, when they were being bred, if you know where Pohakuloa is, on Hawaii Island, there at the foot of Mauna Kea. They have the highway that goes through the island now, the Belt Road, they call it. And right there at Pohakuloa, the military installation, they had the bird site, and that's where they first raised chicks, was there. And it's very high elevation. So, yeah. I thought I saw a hand over here somewhere.
Last question. Mhm.
Oh, yes.
So, do you think that your research will continue, or will you find another project, or what's your
Yeah. Well, I am always looking for a new project, but usually creative, like doing something with my hands. This has captured me, so I will continue to follow the bird. I think what I'm really hoping is that the next generation of researchers will take this up as a cause. Somebody out there could do much more justice given more time. I wish someone would take it on as a master's thesis, for example. This was just a paper that I wrote for one class at the end of my AA degree, and I think there's so much more. And in fact, I will upload this eventually, so that once I've got it fully edited, I will upload it so that it is available to the scientific community. I'm not saying anything new, I just collected information. But what I'm hoping is that somebody somewhere will take the ideas that I presented, which I didn't read today, but at the end of the paper I include ideas for future research. And I'm hoping that somebody with more time and more energy will take up the cause as well.
Well, I want to thank Melanie, for bringing this to our attention and bringing it to our kind of our forethought. I do want to tell you all that there's going to be the next Out Loud event is November 7th, and we'll have a poet, a Korean American poet named Emily Jungmin Yoon, and she'll be here at 10. So I hope to see some of you there, or all of you there. And we also have a reception, so it'll be like upstairs, right outside the hub. And if you'd like to kind of visit with Melanie and just kind of enjoy each other too, it'll be right outside the hub on the tiled area if you'd like to make your way up there.
I'm going to take a selfie, so if anybody does not want to be in it, raise your hand. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.